2022 here, and welcome back to day 13 of my 31 Frightening Days of Halloween Marathon. Tonight we're going to take a look at 1995's Casper. Now this film, which was a joint production from Universal and Amblin, was directed by Brad Silberling, who would go on to direct such films as City of Angels, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, and most recently the TV series adaptation of Land of the Lost. Now, in this film, which stars Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci, Bill Pullman plays a ghost therapist who moves into this drafty old mansion in Maine with his young daughter, Kat, played by Christina Ricci. And they are hired by the mansion's owner, played by Kathy Moriarty, to exorcise ghosts in the house, and so that Kathy Moriarty's character and her, slimy assistant can find the treasure that they believe is actually hiding inside the house. So Bill Pullman's character, gladly accepts the job until he realizes, that there are three obnoxious ghosts along with one friendly one, Casper, of course, inhabiting the house. So this film is just, I've always felt this film was slightly underrated. I think it's packed with a lot of good fun, hysterics, family fun hijinks, along with a lot of, cool tongue-in-cheek and, for the time, cutting-edge technology and special effects. So, I've always loved this film. Ever since it came out, I always had, a real soft spot for it. So, I really felt that this was, one film that I shouldn't go unnoticed during this whole month, during my Halloween marathon. Now, like I was saying, the special effects are actually really spot on for the time period. Recalling that this film was made back in 1995, it really has. They're very tongue-in-cheek and seem like they seem cheap by today's standards. But I look at this film now, and I still think that it still greatly holds up today by 2009 standards. I think it looks really solid across across the board. The casting is really great in it. Bill Pullman, who I've always loved ever since 1987's Spaceballs, plays a really great, awkward, single father character in this, who's just really surprised and overwhelmed by the fact that he's living in a house overran by these ghosts and whatnot. And of course his young daughter, the always great Christina Ricci. I love Christina Ricci's work. She's always been one of my favorite actresses. She just has a really incredible presence about her, and has always, had this really great body of work with, Casper, the Addams Family films, the Ice Storm. Of course, most recently, she played Trixie in Speed Racer, which I thought was, great and really underrated. But she's great in this. She, out of all of, the darker themed roles she played, considering the subject matter that it does deal with, ghosts and, more in in the spirit of a family film, but this is probably one of her more normal roles, but she still plays it really beautifully. Casper, as the ghost himself, the voice talent in this is really great. You really get, a sense of innocence and, and really, great fun from the voice talent that is Casper. And interestingly enough, at the end of the film, when Casper does become a human for a brief period of time, a very young Devon Sawa plays the human incarnation of him, which is fun to note. Now, the other really cool thing to note on this film, and I had almost forgotten it until I watched it again tonight for the sake of the review, is just the overabundance of all the great cameos in this film. For instance, when Kathy Moriarty's character is bringing in multiple people to help exorcise the house in order for her to gain her fortune, she actually calls upon Ray Stantz, who play of course Dan Aykroyd from Ghostbusters fame. He actually comes in here and runs out of the mansion and tells Kathy Moriarty's character in full Ghostbusters gear, "Who are you supposed to call? Not me, gotta go." And then he just runs out of the scene. But it's just really great. I could not possibly believe that I had forgotten that Dan Aykroyd actually reprises his Ghostbusters role. Even for a short scene, he did come back and actually play the Ray Stantz character again, which was really great. In addition to that, you also get a fun cameo by Ben Stein, and then there's actually one particular scene where the three ghosts, Stretch, Stinky, and Fatso, go into Bill Pullman's body, and when Bill Pullman is actually looking into a mirror, he actually begins seeing the reflections of a whole variety of famous actors such as Clint Eastwood, Rodney Dangerfield, Mel Gibson, and even the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. So that scene in particular was just a lot of fun to see, because that was another scene that I just had blatantly forgot about, but that was really fun and got a real good crack out of me. It was awesome. So that was, a lot of fun, and I mean, I just think that this film has a lot of, laughs and cool special effects, and just a lot of great, delightful fun, throughout, its whole hour and a half runtime. I think it's really, really solid. And, it has fallen through the cracks as more of an underrated film. But I think that if you're looking for something a little bit more family friendly and just, something that doesn't take itself too seriously, I would definitely bust out Casper again and, give it another try, because it really is, great family film to bust out around the Halloween season time. I mean, I enjoyed, watching it, just on my own. I just really think that it holds up as, a really, fun family film. It's not perfect by any means, but, it's definitely an enjoyable film, an hour and a half, a little more. So it really is solid. A few minor things that I'd like to add, is that in a, in addition to all the numerous cameos that were found in this film, there was actually a film scene shot with Zelda Rubinstein reprising her role from Poltergeist that was filmed, but it was actually cut from the final cut of the film, which was unfortunate, because I would have loved to see a cameo from her in this. In addition, there was actually a musical number that was actually intended to be shot about the three ghosts explaining their mental problems to Bill Pullman's character, but unfortunately, it was just it got just boiled down to a budget restraint, because once they realized, the complexities of the scene, it had to be cut, because that scene alone would have cost them at least a few $1,000,000. So it had to be cut just for the budget reasons. But nonetheless, in closing, this is a really great film from 1995, one that really deserves to, be checked out again, just for, the fun and the tongue-in-cheekness and, just the innocence of the whole spirit and vibe of what Casper and, that world really meant. So definitely check this out, and even for additional viewing, if you guys are interested, I've always had a soft spot for the direct-to-video prequel that came out a few years after this film, entitled Casper: Spirited Beginning, and that was another cool film that actually garnered a lot of interesting casting, in that you actually have Rodney Dangerfield, Lori Loughlin, and Steve Guttenberg, and that one I actually really enjoyed a lot too. That's one that I actually don't have in the collection yet, but I'd really like to get on that. So if you guys are, if you guys enjoy Casper, I would definitely, take it a step further and check that one out as well too, because I've always enjoyed that direct-to-video prequel. So in closing, as always, thanks again for tuning in to my 31 Frightening Days of Halloween marathon, and I shall see you guys again tomorrow with another review. This is Frightener22.